The movie opens on New Year's Eve in Chinatown, where a man named Walter hurries down the street. He looks incredibly tense, constantly glancing over his shoulder like a man on the run. Sure enough, a shadowy figure is watching him from a distance, speaking quietly into a phone. Walter keeps moving. He stops at a post office just long enough to mail a mysterious package, then ducks into a nearby clothing store. Desperate to lose his tail, he grabs a jacket off the rack and throws it on, walking right out without paying. But his disguise isn't enough. As he steps into the street, a car suddenly accelerates, brutally striking him down and killing him on impact. Meanwhile, miles away on the sunny island of Hawaii, Walter's son, James, is timing his Navy dive team at the pool. He's watching closely, counting every second they stay submerged without taking a breath. As a strict Navy officer, James isn't easily impressed. When the trainees finally surface, he immediately yells at them, calling out their weak performance and ordering them right back into the water to do it all over again. But his drill is cut short when a colleague interrupts him with an urgent phone call. It's the worst news possible. His father has been killed in a hit and run. James heads straight to the morgue to identify the body. The cold reality sets in as he looks at his father, but the officials tell him he won't get the full police report until tomorrow. James returns home and quietly starts cooking dinner. Soon, his wife Layla walks in with their son and daughter. She smiles, asking how his day went, and James completely masks his grief. He casually talks about his training drills, and Layla praises him, proud of the instructor he is.
But the facade drops. James finally confesses that Walter is dead. Layla is absolutely shocked, not just by the news, but by how unnervingly calm James is acting. Sensing his emotional wall, she respects his silence, but gently asks if he's told his brother, Jonny. James brushes it off, saying Jonny hasn't answered his calls in years and won't start now. Layla pushes back, insisting he at least send a text. Cut to Oklahoma, where Jonny works as a police officer. He walks into his house after a long shift, only to find his girlfriend, Valentina, standing next to packed bags. Confused, he asks what's going on, but she refuses to argue. She tells him she is exhausted from talking to a wall and that he never listens. Jonny gets defensive, blaming his demanding job and promises to change. But when she asks him what day it is, he draws a blank. It's her birthday. For Valentina, this is the last straw. She tells him he will never change and walks out the door. Left alone, Jonny stares heartbroken at pictures of her on his phone. Right then, his phone rings. It's Layla. She introduces herself as James's wife and drops the news of Walter's death. Jonny's reaction is ice cold. He sarcastically replies that he thought the old man died years ago. Layla mentions the funeral is tomorrow, hoping he'll show up. When Jonny asks why James didn't have the guts to call him himself, Layla admits they fight too much. Jonny smirks, telling her she sounds exactly like a therapist. Layla confirms she actually is a child psychologist. Unmoved, Jonny states he hasn't spoken to his brother in 10 years, hasn't stepped foot in Hawaii in 20, and skipping a funeral isn't going to change anything. He hangs up. But the moment he sets the phone down, chaos erupts. Heavily armed Yakuza gang members ambush him right in his bathroom. They demand the package Walter mailed before his death. Genuinely blindsided, Jonny tells them he hasn't spoken to his dad since childhood. They don't care and move in for the kill. Jonny snaps into survival mode, violently fighting back. More gang members swarm the bathroom. A gun goes off, but Jonny dodges the bullet, disarming his attacker. The brawl is brutal. One Yakuza tries to choke him out, but Jonny strikes him hard in the leg, breaking his grip, and manages to kill him, successfully wiping out the entire hit squad. Catching his breath, Jonny looks at the floor and spots a casualty of the fight, an old photograph of himself as a boy with his late mother. He picks it up, staring at it with profound sadness. The next day, the family gathers for Walter's funeral in Hawaii. James scans the perimeter and instantly notices several local gangs lurking in the shadows, including the Yakuza and the notorious Mr. Kai's syndicate. His cousin, Nani, whispers that Walter was a damn good cop, which means he made plenty of dangerous enemies. When she asks if Jonny is coming, James scoffs, certain he'd never show. But suddenly, Nani smiles. Jonny is walking right toward them. She runs up and hugs him tightly. James tenses up, but Layla steps in, reminding him that family comes first. She introduces herself to Jonny face to face and introduces the kids. Jonny instantly charms his nephew and niece, joking that their dad only hates him because he's the better-looking brother. The banter doesn't last. James and Jonny exchange harsh words, with Jonny jabbing that James looks ancient. The officiant has to shush them so the ceremony can begin. We then learn the real source of the friction. Jonny is James's half-brother. Mayor Peter, Walter's closest friend, delivers a heartfelt eulogy, thanking everyone for coming. The family takes Walter's ashes and scatters them across the ocean waves. Later, back at the house, the tension between the brothers boils over. Jonny bluntly states he knows James hates him because Walter cheated on James's mother with Jonny's mother. James dismisses it, saying he was just a kid and doesn't care anymore. At the dinner table, Mayor Peter expresses his joy at seeing them united, noting that James's mother would have loved this. Jonny adds that he mourned James's mother deeply when she died, having viewed her as his own. Then, Jonny drops a bombshell. He didn't come to grieve, he came to find the murderer. James insists it was a hit-and-run accident, but Jonny reveals the Yakuza hit squad that attacked his home. James rolls his eyes, accusing Jonny of being a magnet for trouble. Jonny fires back, saying he expects zero help from him, just like when Jonny's own mother was murdered years ago and James refused to help him investigate. Guilt flashes across James's face. He asks for a private word. Alone, James demands to know how Jonny can be so sure it's murder when he hasn't spoken to Walter in 20 years. Jonny states his cop instincts don't lie. James cruelly reminds him he isn't a cop in Hawaii, claiming Jonny is just projecting his failure to solve his mother's murder onto their father's accident. Furious, Jonny storms out, swearing he'll handle it alone. Looking to blow off steam, Jonny hits a local bar. A man approaches him, warning him that returning to the island is a fatal mistake and that his boss, Mr. Kai, wants a meeting. The man has a nasty facial scar, a scar Jonny gave him 20 years ago. Jonny refuses the invitation, but suddenly the room spins. He's been drugged. He collapses. He wakes up bound, staring face to face with the ruthless crime lord, Mr. Kai. Kai is furious, reminding Jonny of the men he crippled in the past. Jonny doesn't flinch, reminding Kai that he murdered his mother, making them perfectly even. Unimpressed, Kai gives Jonny a chilling ultimatum: leave the island in 1 week or die. To prove his point, Kai slices Jonny's neck, promising to drown him in the Pacific if he stays. Jonny blacks out again. The next morning, Jonny wakes up washed ashore on the beach. Meanwhile, James heads to the police station to confront Reinhardt, his dad's old commanding officer. Reinhardt hands over his condolences, but no answers. He claims Chinatown is a dead zone, no witnesses are talking, and the only security camera in the area was conveniently broken. James immediately calls it out as a cover-up, but Reinhardt warns him to back off before he crosses the wrong people. James coldly replies that those people should be the ones terrified of him and walks out. Back home, James goes through Walter's personal effects and finds a strange slip of paper with bizarre words tucked inside his wallet. Simultaneously, Jonny breaks into Walter's dusty old apartment. While digging through case files, he spots a man sneaking around. The intruder panics and literally jumps out the window. Jonny gives chase, tackling the man to the ground. The guy introduces himself as Pika. He explains that Walter was like a father to him, and he helped Walter illegally wiretap calls and intercept messages for his cases. Pika is stunned to learn he's talking to Walter's flesh and blood. When Jonny asks who pulled the trigger on his dad, Pika admits the suspect list is endless. Without missing a beat, Jonny hires him on the spot. Across town, James takes matters into his own hands. He visits the Chinatown crash site and spots a hidden camera inside a local shop. He offers the owner cash for the footage, but the owner firmly refuses and orders him out. James chooses violence. He brutally beats down the men in the store and takes the security tapes by force. Back at the apartment, Jonny and Pika spot a dusty surfboard. Pika mentions Walter never surfed because of a bad knee. Suspicious, Jonny cracks the board open and finds a hidden architectural blueprint. He immediately calls his cousin Nani, who used to assist Walter, asking her to run the file number through the city's database. Suddenly, the door kicks open. Jonny draws his gun, but lowers it when he sees James. James boots up his laptop and plays the stolen footage. It's undeniable. The driver never even touched the brakes. It was a targeted hit. However, the car has no license plates. Jonny orders Pika to track down the exact import company that brings in that specific model of blue car. The brothers head downstairs and get into
into James's car. Out of nowhere, another vehicle slams into them. Yakuza assassins lean out and open fire. Thankfully, James's glass is bulletproof. Jonny kicks his door open and bails out, while James fires back, leaps out of the vehicle, and literally jumps onto the hood of the assassin's car, shooting point blank. Jonny screams at James to get clear. As James dives off, Jonny takes aim at the enemy's gas tank and fires. The car erupts in a massive fireball, incinerating the hit squad. Unfortunately, James's car is completely destroyed in the blaze. James screams at his brother, but Jonny smirks, telling him he's welcome for the rescue. Shortly after, Commander Reinhardt arrives on the fiery scene. He reveals the dead men are high-ranking Yakuza and drops a bombshell. Jonny is currently suspended from his police force in Oklahoma for excessive force. Jonny remains stone-faced. James hands Reinhardt the crash footage, but Reinhardt just angrily warns them that this Wild West shootout behavior won't be tolerated on his island. Later, Nani arrives with massive intel. The blueprints belong to Marcus, a billionaire foreign developer famous for luxury hotels. But James looks closely at the plans and realizes it's not a hotel, it's a massive underground casino. Nani is stunned, as gambling is strictly illegal in Hawaii. Jonny demands a meeting with Marcus, but Nani says he's hosting an ultra-exclusive invite-only gala tomorrow night. The next morning, Jonny shows up at James's garage trying to borrow his pristine motorcycle. James shuts him down, handing over Walter's beat-up old bike instead. James then asks about the suspension. Jonny quietly admits he executed a drug dealer who was selling poison to kids. To his surprise, James nods in total understanding. They ride out to the casino development site, only to find an empty dirt lot. A fierce local woman approaches, telling them the community will fight to the death before selling their land to corrupt foreigners. Suddenly, Pika calls. The police just dredged the blue murder car out of the ocean. The brothers rush to the docks and watch the cops pull the dead driver from the wreck. Reinhardt confirms the dead man is an accountant who worked directly for Mayor Peter. Pika then delivers the final puzzle piece. He can sneak them into Marcus's gala as catering staff, and he confirms the Yakuza literally owns the import company that brought in the killer car. That night, James and Jonny infiltrate the high society party dressed as dishwashers. From the sink, James spots the Yakuza boss openly doing drugs. Jonny swipes the boss's VIP card, confirming his link to the import company. But Jonny is a terrible undercover worker. He strikes up a conversation with a wealthy woman named Monica, who turns out to be Marcus's wife. When Jonny reveals his name, Monica pulls him aside. She confesses she secretly hired Walter to dig up dirt on Marcus for a divorce settlement. She tells Jonny to meet her at her hotel tomorrow for the full truth. However, Marcus isn't stupid. He spots the brothers, and his armed guards drag them into his private office. Dropping the act, they reveal they are Walter's sons. Marcus plays it cool, claiming he actually hired Walter to see if his wife was cheating, paid him handsomely, and had zero reason to kill him. The brothers leave, entirely unconvinced. The next day, Jonny arrives at Monica's hotel, only to find police tape. Monica's body is smashed on top of a car below. It's staged as a tragic balcony suicide, but Jonny knows it's murder. Seeing red, he marches straight to Marcus's mansion. He doesn't get far before Marcus's elite security beats him into the ground. Spitting blood, Jonny accuses Marcus of ordering the hits on his father and Monica. Marcus smiles, dials 911, and has Jonny arrested for trespassing and assault. Sitting in a jail cell, Jonny gets a visit from Mayor Peter. The mayor claims he called in a favor to get Marcus to drop the charges. He begs Jonny to stop acting like a wrecking ball and let the official police do their job.
When Jonny is released, James is waiting for him. Jonny ignores him and tries to walk away, but James grabs him, accusing him of returning just to burn the city down. The verbal fight turns physical. The brothers brutally beat each other in the street until they are both bleeding. Jonny finally screams the truth. He hates James for abandoning him to face the world alone after their mother died. Breaking down, James confesses he pushed Jonny away on purpose. He needed Jonny to leave the island so Mr. Kai's gang wouldn't kill him too. It was the only way to keep him safe. Tears in his eyes, Jonny says that even if the intention was good, the abandonment shattered him. James sincerely apologizes for failing him and swears he will stand by his side until Walter's killers are in the ground. They return home bruised and bloody. Layla is absolutely furious, screaming that they both desperately need intense psychotherapy. Suddenly, Valentina calls Jonny. She tells him a package just arrived at his house in Oklahoma, forwarded from Hawaii, containing a mysterious flash drive. It's the package the Yakuza were ready to kill for. Jonny begs her to fly it to Hawaii immediately. When she arrives at the airport, she hands over the drive, coldly reminding Jonny that this doesn't change their breakup. Jonny accepts this in silence. Back in the car, with James, Valentina, and Pika, they try to access the drive. It's heavily encrypted. James suddenly pulls out the weird slip of paper from Walter's wallet. Pika types the strange words in, and the password unlocks.
But before they can celebrate, an attack helicopter swoops down, raining machine gun fire on their car. Valentina grabs the wheel, flooring the gas so James and Jonny can hang out the windows and return fire. Two heavily armed Yakuza bikers flank them, leaping onto the speeding car to steal the laptop. A chaotic, high-speed brawl ensues. The brothers viciously beat the attackers, throwing them under the screeching tires. The chopper circles back for a final strike, but Jonny and James unleash a massive barrage of bullets, critically damaging the rotor. As the chopper spirals out of control, Valentina masterfully drifts the car into a tunnel just as the helicopter explodes outside. Catching his breath, James looks at the bullet-riddled, smashed-up interior and groans, realizing Layla is going to kill him for destroying her car. Safe for the moment, Pika opens the decrypted files. Valentina, using her banking expertise, analyzes the data. It's a ledger showing massive multi-million-dollar wire transfers to a single account over 3 years. The account belongs to Mayor Peter. The horrifying truth clicks into place. The mayor is Marcus's silent partner, taking bribes to bypass the law and force the casino project through. Walter must have stumbled onto the money trail while investigating Marcus's divorce, so they silenced him. The crew rushes back home, only to find the door kicked in. Layla and Nani are gone. A video call comes through. It's Marcus. He holds the women at gunpoint, demanding the flash drive in exchange for their lives. There are no more games. James and Jonny crack open a massive armory bag, locking and loading every weapon they have. They storm Marcus's estate under the cover of darkness. Working as a lethal team, they silently execute the perimeter guards and cut the main power lines. When the head of security comes to check the breaker, Jonny snaps his neck. Jonny then grabs the dead guard's radio and taunts Marcus, letting the billionaire know his entire security force is dead. Terrified, Marcus screams for his Yakuza reinforcements. The gang floods the mansion. James intercepts them, engaging in a brutal, bone-breaking hand-to-hand fight with the Yakuza boss. James beats the man with terrifying rage until Jonny pulls him off, telling him the boss is already dead. They breach the hostage room, untie Layla and Nani and make sure they are safe, but Marcus has fled. Jonny sprints out to hunt him down. Layla grabs James, ordering him to go help his brother finish this. James runs after him, but the Yakuza boss suddenly rises from the floor. He survived. The boss fires at James. They engage in one final apocalyptic fight to the death, ending with James definitively killing the gang leader. Meanwhile, Jonny corners Marcus near the cliffs. The two men beat each other mercilessly, but Marcus manages to draw a gun and shoots Jonny, wounding him. Marcus stands over the bleeding cop, aiming directly at his head, gloating that he's going to put him in the ground right next to his father. But Jonny secretly pulls the pin on a flash grenade hidden in his hand. As Marcus pulls the trigger, the bullet strikes the explosive. The grenade detonates instantly, blowing Marcus to pieces. Jonny uses his last ounce of strength to dive off the cliff into the crashing ocean below to escape the blast. James runs to the cliff edge in horror. He dives into the raging waters, grabbing his brother and pulling him safely to the shore. In the aftermath, Commander Reinert personally slaps cuffs on Mayor Peter. He arrests him for the bribery conspiracy and the murder of Walter. Peter pathetically tries to blame the dead billionaire, spotting James and Jonny in the crowd and begging them to believe he was trying to protect them. The brothers just stare at him with cold contempt as he is shoved into a squad car. Sometime later, the entire family is gathered on the beach, laughing and sharing a beautiful meal. As Jonny watches the sunset, Mr. Kai slowly approaches him. The crime lord congratulates Jonny on wiping out the Yakuza and Marcus, admitting they were bad for his business too. As a token of respect and a peace offering, Kai hands Jonny a folded piece of paper. He tells him it contains the name of the man who actually killed his mother 20 years ago, swearing it wasn't his crew. Jonny takes the paper and walks over to James, showing him the name.
James nods, telling his brother that whatever he decides to do, he will fight right by his side. Jonny looks at the paper, then looks at his brother, his nephew, his niece, and his new family. He tells James that he already has exactly what he came for. Jonny strikes a match, sets the paper on fire, and watches his mother's killer's name turn to ash in the wind, finally choosing family over revenge. He sits down in the sand beside his brother, and the movie ends. That's it for today's story. If you enjoyed the recap, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.